I'm Wang. Firstly, congratulations on making it to fourth year. So my rotations last year were Peds at MMC, then I had Women's at Dandenong, Psychiatry at Alfred, and GP in Bentley East and a small clinic in Glen Ira. So in terms of my priorities, I'll talk about the fitness aspects and the committee work first, and then into study methods. So I was exercising around 5 to 6 days a week last year, just to keep myself sane. So this was usually before placement, just going to the gym, doing a boxing class, something like that. And then if I got really stressed, there's a really good 10k run from Brighton to St Kilda that never failed to make me feel better. So last year I was the Year 4 academic rep. So as with having a role in any committee, the amount of time you dedicate to something like that is as little or as much as you make it to be. So for me, I chose to dedicate around an hour each day to answering questions of students, replying to emails and organising events. I probably had around 3 to 4 meetings a month, which usually went for around 2 hours each. And I would say I got particularly inundated prior to exams, so that was just something that I had to learn to juggle with my other priorities. In terms of study, I averaged around 2 hours of solo study a day and around 4 to 6 hours of group study a week. And of course this varied week to week, so sometimes I'd go half a week without doing any study, and other times I'd get 10 hours in on a Sunday. So coming into the year, the advice I received was to always be one discipline ahead. So during the summer holidays I learnt the Peds matrix, and then during Peds I learnt women's, etc. In the middle of the year things slowed down a bit when I went to China to visit family, but in general I found it really helpful to always be one step ahead. I had a couple of study groups throughout the year as well, ranging from around 4 to 8 people. So in the first half of the year we would come together once a week to practice OSCEs, once a week to do via revision in the forms of presentations and quizzes with each other, and then once a week to give presentations of core topics in the Year 4 syllabus. In the second half of the year we then added on doing a paper each week in our own time, and then finding a time to come together and just discuss any issues we had with the paper. For me, the best way to learn is through teaching, so I found group study really helpful for that. In terms of resources, it's probably really similar to what everyone else has been using. So for Peds, I used Illustrated Textbook of Peds, Rupert Hines' notes, Practical Pediatrics and the RCH guidelines. For women's, I used 10 Teachers, the Prompt guidelines and the RCOG guidelines. And then for Psych, I used Kaplan and Sadix, the DSM and Oxford Handbook of Psychiatry. And then GP was just Murtag's and Up to Date. In terms of question banks, I did all of the faculty release papers first. Then I started with past test because the questions are probably the easiest of the question banks. It's formatted really nicely as well. And then I used past medicine because the questions are a bit more similar to our exam style questions. And then AMBOSS. So AMBOSS has more challenging questions, really good set of notes for each discipline as well. So I highly recommend them. Is there anything I would change if I did fourth year again? It's gonna sound ridiculous, but it was probably around halfway through my first rotation that I kind of burnt out. I was just trying to keep up with my study schedule that I'd made for myself, my responsibilities as academic rep, and trying to exercise every single day. So because of this, I was sleeping probably around 4 hours a day. And in hindsight, definitely not at my most productive in terms of learning, and probably not even really fun to hang out with. I'm extremely lucky though, and I have friends who picked up on this quite early and made me realise that it's just not possible to achieve all your goals if you don't put yourself first. Fourth year has a really big rep as being the hardest year of medicine, and I know some of my friendships and relationships took a bit of a hit because of the pressure I put on myself to excel. With that being said, I don't actually have any regrets. I'm actually glad I broke down early on because it meant that by the time exams rolled around, I was on top of my sleep schedule. I knew what my priorities should be. I was able to, revise more effectively. I felt a lot more balanced, and it meant that I went into exams feeling prepared and content with what I'd done throughout the year. I'm not saying that you should all have a breakdown at the beginning of the year to be more efficient at the end of it, but I'm more just trying to share this with you so I can be honest about my fourth year experience. So my advice to you guys coming into fourth year would be, number one, yes, it's a hard year, but it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it. It's your second last year before you have any real responsibilities, so put yourself first, make sure you spend time with your friends, travel, go to the concerts you want to, and just have a good time. The second one is make sleep a priority. The third thing is to try and keep your goals realistic and allow for flexibility. The fourth thing is give yourself some downtime each and every day. And the fifth thing is don't neglect your relationships. Doing well in medicine, yes, it's really important, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean anything if you don't have the people you love to share your successes with. So I'm more than happy for you guys to contact me. My contact details can be found in the description box below. And lastly, good luck for this year. You're going to have a blast and all the best.